Turn it up.
From the YBA Phoenix Fitness 24/7 basketball facility in Rockland, California, it's Coach's Rise time with Coach C. Collins.
Get it started. 3, 2, 1.
Coach's Rise time.
Hey, I'm Coach C. Collins. Welcome to Coach's Rise Time, where I talk a little basketball, a little side output from the typical show of the main show, which is About That Life podcast. Thank you if you're listening in. I just want to give my insight as a coach, what I think works, what I think doesn't work, and, you take my opinion or you don't. Either way, if you're tuning in, I'm assuming you're at least a little bit curious of what I have to say. Once again, I want to thank those who've been listening and supporting, especially on the Patreon and the Podbean Patreon. Also want to thank our sponsors, Dr. Dish, thank you. The best shooting machine on the market. They have several versions that are good for any of you guys out there. The home version is a hot seller right now for those who have the courts in the driveway. Colleges use it. Training facilities use it. Check it out. They have the All-Star, the Rebel. Please go to their website. All the links will be in the description as well. If you are looking for a sublimation, jerseys being made, hit up West Coast Legends. Sorry about that. Hit up West Coast Legends. They can handle all your jersey needs, any manufacturing needs, even for parties and family events, whatever you need, they got you as far as garment wear and anything else there. Zennify is a marketing company that I definitely say check out if you're a small business, big business, looking to up your game and get noticed and have a marketing team behind you. Zennify is definitely the place to go. Also, if you're looking for tournaments in Sacramento area, mainly based out of South Sac, but in Rancho and all over, hit up my guy DeMario. He runs West Coast Takeover basketball tournaments. Runs a really solid program, always looking to get good competition for you AAU programs out there looking for, some good run. It's definitely a good place to check out. So, today's topic on this, well, it is in the evening, but it still is August the 24th. Probably by the time I'm done, it might be the next day. But on this August 24th, on a happy Tuesday, I wanted to talk about IQ basketball. IQ basketball. What is it? What can we define it? How do we articulate it and teach it to our players? And kind of what does it truly mean? I think as coaches, we understand when we say the term IQ basketball that we're kind of meaning reads. That's ultimately what we're saying. I'm going to break it down into kind of 3 categories of what I believe when a coach says IQ basketball, what that means. Because kids can be tall and athletic and have all the natural gifts in the world, but without high-level IQ, it just doesn't work, right? And we all know this, you know what I mean? There's NBA examples. I can go down the list, but again, the show is a quick show, so I don't want to go make it too long like my last Analytics Rise time. But, IQ basketball is when we say this as coaches, it's kind of an understanding of 3 things. One is reads. A basketball player that is able to read what the defense or offense is doing. That's why on 2K they have the offensive awareness, defensive awareness. That is essentially a huge part of IQ basketball, being able to read the scenario and react accordingly, not being able to just say what to do. That's why sometimes as coaches will say, man, that kid, he might not be the fastest, he might not be the strongest, but his IQ is so high, he just knows the game really well. It's little things like that let you know the intelligence in which the kid can read the floor, and reads are a huge part of it. The second part is knowledge. Knowledge. Reads is the first one. Second one is knowledge. And not just knowledge of plays, but knowledge of the game, knowledge of the history, knowledge of players that were proficient in their certain areas, being able to assimilate and acclimate the strengths and parts of someone's game in order to enhance your own. LeBron is a great example of someone who has an extremely high IQ. When he had lost against the Dallas Mavericks, he went into the lab, met up with Kareem, I believe it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or either Akeem Olajuwon, one of the two, and told them, teach me how to post, teach me how to post up, teach me footwork, teach me spacing, mid-post area, picking my jabs and reads. Being able to assimilate and gain knowledge of the game, that is a huge part of IQ basketball, and being able to adapt it to enhance your own game. That's not a typical trait of a lot of athletes. Some depend too much on their athleticism and gifts. How many times have you seen athletes who were the man in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, only to not enhance their IQ and knowledge of the game, and therefore the athleticism and the height everyone catches up, right? And by sophomore, junior year, they're struggling just to get on a basketball team. And the unfortunate part, their parents still think they deserve everything for free. So they bounce around, float around, just trying to find a home team, never really getting any recognition any more than what they had in, middle school. It's unfortunate because you see this happen with a lot of kids. I believe part of it is because of the parental ego, the social media ego, the child's ego, and some coaches just not holding those kids accountable, giving them the reality. Or what happens is some of those coaches do give them the reality. They don't like what they hear. And, of course, what do? We bounce to another AAU program until they hear what they want to hear. So the last and third component, definitely not the least, well, we have reads, we have knowledge as far as understanding IQ. One thing, I don't know if I could give it a word, but I call it EOC, extension of coach. The players that can be an extension of what the coach sees and wants the overall picture to be really show a proficiency in high IQ. A great example is Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich. You could say in football with Tom Brady and I'm not thinking of the Patriots. I'm head coach Belichick. You could say that ability to be an EOC, the extension of the coach, goes a long way. Not just because you're doing what the coach says, but because you understand the game plan in which they're trying to implement. That's why I think people didn't give Steve Kerr enough credit, because not only could he manage the personalities of a superstar team the way he did, but those guys could see the overall extension of what he was trying to do. And when you have 3 or 4 players that can be an extension of the coach and really see what his overall plan is, that becomes poetry in motion. The Spurs, when they had, just want to add some tone to it. The Spurs, when they had Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Ginobili, they understood their roles. They understood how to be, a true extension of what Pop was looking for. IQ basketball is not just knowing half-court sets. It's not just knowing plays. It's enhancing your cognitive ability out on the court, because I believe sometimes as coaches, especially in the showcasing of AAU, we negate how important IQ is. Honestly, IQ can give you longevity in the game itself. I mean, look at Jared Dudley. He still has a job with the Lakers. You know what I mean? And that's because the mentorship, the thinking component of the game is oftentimes way more valuable than necessarily the physical actions of the game. And being able to measure and gauge the EQ, the emotional, your emotional IQ or whatever, which isn't a thing, but we call it a thing. But moving on, being able to gauge the personality and your personnel, being able to see the game out and have, photo memory of what's going on out on the basketball court. This is what I believe, and in my opinion, are the 3 components of basketball IQ and what we mean as coaches when we say basketball IQ. Your ability to read out on the floor, your knowledge of the game, past, present, and potential future, and being innovative and creative in that. And the last is the EOC, the extension of the coach. If you like my content, you like what I had to say, I appreciate it. I just want to keep giving ideas out there and giving knowledge on my parts of the game and what I think. Some people might agree, some don't. That's okay. Either way, you're listening to what I have to say, and it really is appreciated. But with that being said, we come to the close of this episode. Hopefully you like what you heard. If you do want to support, please feel free to click that Patreon link or Podbean Patreon link. It helps us out big time. You can donate as low as $1 a month, and trust me, it will be appreciated. I'll give you a shout out on the show. For those who've been tuning in and supporting and giving me positive feedback, it's really appreciated. I'm just trying to grow it organically, little by little. Hopefully, people are enjoying the content and I'm getting them to think, because that's all I want to do. I want to increase your knowledge and help you think. Again, thank you to my sponsors. Appreciate your support. Everybody be safe out there. I know with the Delta COVID variant and, different states doing different things, it's getting a little crazy again. But, I think we as a people will manage forward. We'll push forward. To my AAU basketball teams out there, keep doing your thing. Keep doing your tournaments. Kids, keep improving. And stay in the gym, keep getting better. Get outside to a park and get better. I don't care either way. Do what you have to do to make yourself keep going. I hope for the next episode for About That Life podcast, we should be having DB About a Bag, that main show. Please check it out. Feel free to go through and scroll through all the content. I'm going to keep trying to push things out on a consistent basis. I'll have Ty and Mark obviously here when we do the main show. I appreciate you. And I'm out.